at the age of 52, no kid, I go to work, come back to an empty house.
We have a video of a lady who is 52 years old. She's unmarried, she's childless, and she called upon all the ladies between the age of 20 and 30 because she's got a few lessons that she would like to teach to these ladies, all right? Because of the regrets that she has in her deciding not to have a child and not to get married until now when she's 52 years old. So we're gonna watch this video and break it down, all right? Cool.
Sanibonani. Ngicela bonke abantu abaneminyaka from 20 kuya ku 30 bezela. Ngicela basondele la. I'm not a content creator. I'm not a professional of any sorts. This is just me and my life experiences through School of Hard Knocks. Ngicazela guys. Yabona ningayenzi le mistake engiyenzile life in. I'm realizing now ukuthi damn, I messed up.
Okay, so from what she's sharing with us, saying that these are the mistakes that she has made and she realizes now that she has messed up, which is the mistake of her not having a child and her deciding not to get married. So I'm sensing that she's got a lot of regrets at this point, you know, and I do appreciate her being able to come forward and share such vulnerable and private things with the rest of us, because it's gonna be an eye-opener. All right, we appreciate it, but anyway, let's get straight into it. Let's continue.
Ilana ke indaba. Yabona mina nga decide nje ngisasemncane ukuthi I don't want to have kids ngoba ngiyangibuka ukuthi ngiyivila nje ngicabanga ukuthi hayibo ngizovuka ebusuku mina ngishintshe ingane inapkeni ngingalele ngibuka nalento yokuthi nje I don't think ukuthi I want to be responsible for the whole human being. That was never me.
So with this part where she's saying that the reason why she didn't want to have children was because she didn't want to be responsible for an entire human being and also being able to wake up in the middle of the night and change nappies and all that stuff, I think a lot of us actually realize what we got ourselves into after we have actually gotten ourselves in there. Because I did a video the other day where I was like, guys, like 10 years into this whole parenting thing, I don't think I'm ready. You know, I realized that this thing is not for me, especially when it comes to you being responsible for somebody all the time. Like, do I have to be responsible for somebody for the rest of my life? So for her to be able to pick that up from a young age to say, I don't want to be responsible for this, shout out to her, big shout out. I think the only difference now is that when you have made a decision, you need to be very much aware of the fact that every single decision has the good side and the bad side, you know, and you can never get it 100%. That's why I'm saying that with the kids that I have, that I prayed for, there are days where I feel like, oh my gosh, what am I doing being a parent? And there are days where I'm like, I'm so glad I became a parent. So I think it's important for you, before you make that decision, you need to be aware that some days you might even regret having kids, but you need to live through it, okay? So meaning that even if you've decided that you don't want to have children, there are going to be days like today for her where she's feeling lonely and she's feeling like, yo, I feel so crappy. But anyway, that is just how life is. Let's continue with the video.
I've not regretted that decision. Esibili decision lenzo senginibize la. Ile ukuthi nga decide at same time ukuthi angithandi ukushada. Because for me institution did not have a meaning yabo. Ngangibuka nje ukuthi hayibo ngoba phela mina ngizalwe ngalesa sikhathi. Nalabantu besilisa babazothi umuntu esifazane fanele azi ukuthi isokisi lakhe likephi ayini ibhluke lomunye umuntu, you know, all those things. I was like, no, that's not me. Ake ngifuna ukubuza umuntu nje mina amasokisi akhe ngoba nami nginenkinga yokuyibuza wami amasokisi. Ngangafune nje umuntu ozofanele ngivuke ngimayinele, angazi ngimphekele ngoba mina nje ngiyivila. Ngathi yabona ukuze ngenze into ezongixaka ngihambe ngiyomosha emzini yabantu othi ke ihlalele kids.
Okay, so on the part where she's saying that the other decision that she made, which is the decision for her not to get married, which is the big problem, the reason why she has gathered all the 20-year-olds to 30 to be here, is the fact that she decided not to get married, right? And the reason why she decided not to get married is because basically she's not domesticated. She's not about trying to figure out where somebody else's socks are and where, like, she does not want to be responsible or just be domesticated and do stuff for another human being, right? Of which, for me, for somebody who's like 52 years old, people who were born in the late 60s and early 70s, I mean, we are in an era where we can actually get a helper. You know, we have a helper at home and our parents are working, you know. So if the reason why you didn't want to get married because of the era that you were born in, if you're 52 years old, if one of the reasons is that you were not domesticated, I think that one would have been solved by you getting a helper. You understand what I mean? Unless if maybe that's just one of the reasons. But if the main reason was that you don't want to be picking socks after somebody and whatever. Is it socks or socks? English. You don't want to be picking socks after other people and whatnot. That could have been eliminated and you could have still continued to get married, knowing very well that you want to put other measures in place to make sure that you don't have to suffer like that, you know, do things you don't want to do. Because I believe that so many people who are married in this day and age, they are exactly like you. They are not domesticated. They don't want to do stuff. Like, I, for one, worked very hard for me to afford a helper so that I don't have to do all this domestic stuff. I hate washing, I hate ironing, I love cooking. So all the stuff that I hated, I knew that I had to work hard so that even when I do get married, I'll be able to afford somebody to help me with those things, because I'm not about to do all of that. So if that was my reason to say I'm not going to get married because I hate doing the washing, then I was probably going to regret it later on after, you know, seeing people married and in love and whatever. But because for me that was not an issue, yeah. So I think maybe, just maybe, yeah, it makes sense why you would regret that part, because not being domesticated is not a good enough reason for you not to want to get married. All right, but let's continue.
Kwazi kwamnandi empilweni yami from leso sikhathi kuze kube manje. Awe ma, guys. If I were to go back, I will choose differently. No, I don't know. But at the age of 52, no kid, I go to work, come back to an empty house. Yo, yebana. I look forward to come to my safe space. Kuthulekile kusona engizwe into engithandayo. Yo, ngezinye insuku namhlanje. Kuthi ngithathe indlu ngifake noma ngibakho noma ikubra. Ingqayile. Iyangisinda, it feels so lonely. It feels so empty.
Okay, here's another thing that I'm picking up here. The fact that you are in an empty house, you are alone because you chose that you don't want to have a husband and you don't want to have children. There are so many people who, unfortunately, and for them it was not a matter of them just saying they don't want to have, they just couldn't have. You know, they tried, but they couldn't fall pregnant. And they've opted for things like your adoption. They've opted for things like, you know, taking in family members and staying with them. So for you to be staying alone, for me, I feel like to a certain degree, it's got absolutely nothing to do with the fact that you chose not to be married. I think you just chose that you want to be by yourself. So this one also, I feel like it does not necessarily have to be solved by one getting married. Trust me, I believe in marriage. You know, I believe that is one of the most beautiful institutions that God has ever invented, because companionship is a beautiful thing. But when we have to now look at the reasons why we are getting married, or the reasons why we are inspiring people to get married or not get married, I think we need to be like a bit more broad in terms of, let's give people an option so that when they make a sound decision, they know, yeah, no, man, this one, I could have avoided this by doing this, I could have avoided this by that. But if it's just a matter of the house is empty and it could be having people, you can adopt, you can take a family member, you know. I think you just made a decision that you don't want to have people around. You get what I mean? But yeah, no, let's continue.
Manje sengiyayibona le nkinga engiyifake kuyona ukuthi okay fine, I've lived my best life, I have traveled, and I've enjoyed not being expected ukuthi ngi-account komunye umuntu, like that was never me. But manje senginako ukusola ukuthi ezento yokushada mhlambe inayo into right ngayo, ngoba njengamanje ngilambile mina. Fanele ngisume ngiyopheka ngoba I don't feel like having takeaways. So fanele ngisume ngiyopheka. Inkinga, I left on Wednesday. Ngangade ngiphekele Tuesday. And I don't feel like eating kulowa kudla ngade ngikushiye ngikudlile. I'm wishing for fresh food. Ngizopheka ke lokudla guys. Ngik-enjoy manje. Kusasa ngisakufuna. And la ngihlala khona ukho ngisho security gate-ini engawazi ukuthi ngiphekele lokudla. Umuntu owenza ingadi ufika Friday kuphela. Lokudla ngizokupheka manje ngizokwenza njani ma engizama ke ukukushare nani ke ukuthi learn from mina.
Okay, I hear the part where you are saying you are cooking the food, you have to eat the food alone, and what are you gonna do with the leftovers? For me, I think it still goes back to the issue, Yauri. If you had maybe a family member, if you adopted a child, you could be living with somebody. You understand what I mean? I feel like it does not need a husband for you to be, you know, to have a home cooked meal. And also it goes back to the issue, Yauri. If you are saying that you didn't want to get married because you were not domesticated, things like cooking, that's a domesticated thing to do. Meaning that if you had this husband, you were probably going to cook for them and eat this food with them. So for me, I feel like it's more than just you being able to cook a meal and eat alone, because that you being able to cook really proves that you are domesticated, because you can do one thing, right? But the big issue here, for me, it still goes back to you making a decision that you want to be by yourself. Like, you want to be alone, regardless of whether it's a husband, it's a child, it's a cousin, it's a niece, a nephew, it's an adopted child. You just decided that you want to be alone. And yeah, I feel like it's got nothing to do with wanting to have a husband, because if we're going to be having husbands because we don't want to be alone, and we have people who have experiences of having husbands but they're still lonely with their husbands, then we might end up being even more miserable, you know. But yeah, let's continue with the video.
Yay, banesithina labayana. Yabona labayana? Banesithina kodwa I am realizing ukuthi ya perhaps bona ama-9 endawana yokubaluleka elifini. So ke guys, ngicela niyicabange kabili kathathu le decision. Mhlambe mekhona bese ithathile, angazi independent woman, angazi in yay.
Okay, so now with you saying that, yeah, you do understand that men are annoying, and they are annoying, Shem. They're annoying. Like, men, you are annoying. It's not even a secret, okay? But you don't have to be picking any guy that approaches you because you don't want to end up eating a meal alone and being lonely in a house. So you just have to pick any lonely man, you know? Because in as much as we can say men are annoying, there are some men who are really, really good men, you know? So instead of you just picking any annoying man to stay with because you're scared of being lonely, rather pick the right man, or just have people around, guys. Like, people is not only a husband, Bazalwane. People is not only a husband. You can really have other people around whom you are not married to keep you company, you know? So, yeah, I would say that your decision on whether you want to have a husband or not should not be based on the fact that somebody is alone right now and they're lonely because they stay alone, which is a decision that they made. It should be based on the fact that you don't see the reason why you should have a husband to begin with. And when you see on how you valued marriage from the beginning, for you marriage was just you being a slave. So meaning that even the idea of what marriage is, it was wrong from the beginning. You understand what I mean? So then obviously this marriage was going to be a problematic marriage for you because you were not going to enjoy this marriage. Because now I honestly believe that if you're going to be having people around, you should be able to enjoy having people around you. You don't have to have people around you just because you're afraid of being lonely or because, like, be alone, because you can be lonely and have people around. But anyway, it's fine. Let's just continue and wrap it up.
Ningayenzi leyo nto. I'm here to tell you, ngeke ngize ngishugarcoat izinto. Ngiyazi ukuthi we have, painted this independent woman thing as this amazing thing. Yes, it is amazing. Kodwa njengayo yonke into empilweni inobuhle nobubi. Ngihleli ke manje la ngiphethe ububi bayo. I-decision yami ngayithatha when I was like 18 ukuthi I was not gonna get married. Yay!
Okay, so I appreciate the part where you're saying that every decision that you make has got the good side and the bad side, and you are sitting right now today and you are suffering the consequences of the downside of you deciding not to get married when you were 18 years old. So I think it's very, very important. The biggest lesson also on what you are saying right now is that in every decision that you make, whether you decide to get married or to not get married, there are going to be the good sides and the bad sides of those decisions. And every time when the bad comes, you always have to remind yourself why you even did that to begin with. Then we'll minimize regrets, If you always remind yourself why you took the decisions that you took, and when you look at the decisions, they made sense to you, then you will minimize regret. You get what I mean? Okay, cool. Let's continue.
Ngaze ngamdinga ke husband njengamanje. Ngaze ngamdinga ngoba futhi ngiyacabanga mina kwafanele ngithole husband wayezongiphekela. Ngoba ngabe manje ngifike endlini ewomu enuka soul food. Yay.
Okay, my sister or ma'am, yeah. The thing is, you are saying that you really need a husband right now, and you wish maybe you had a husband who could cook for you, right? You're gonna be getting home from a meal which is like home cooked soul food meal. But at the same time, the husbands which were available during your time, you are saying that those are husbands that needed you to actually do that for them. You get what I mean? So if you were to go back and make a decision to pick whatever husband that's available that time, you were still not gonna be able to get, English is not my first language, you were still not gonna be able to get the things that you are desiring now. So your desires basically have nothing to do with those choices that you made back then. They are just desires that you have now. Because I can tell you now, there are so many wives who are married to husbands who are your age who don't get the things that you are desiring. So to suffer well certain things, it doesn't mean that people who are in a situation you wish you were in are actually getting the things that you wish you got married for. I don't know if I'm making sense. And I'm kind of trying to comfort you. I know at my young age, I'm trying to comfort you to say that, listen, maybe there are certain things that they have absolutely nothing to do with the fact that you chose not to get married. There are things that everybody can desire, whether they are married or not. And some are even not having those things even when they're married. And there are others who are actually having that, So depending on who you marry, going back to the fact that men are annoying, you could have married one of those annoying men who are not even going to give you the time of day, who are now not even going to cook that home cooked meal for you, and they were not going to give you that thing. So there are people who are your age, who are married, but are feeling exactly the way that you are feeling right now. You get what I mean? Okay, let's continue.
I must get from my behind and go cook myself food because I need home cooked food after getting hotel for past 2 days. So guys,
Okay, I'm still going to repeat myself, ma'am. This one does not need a husband per se, you know. Yes, we long for companionship, but the things that you are saying you need a husband for, they actually don't need a husband, you know. You need to be able to get an assistant, hire someone to take care of you, to do things for you. At my age, I have somebody who actually cooks in my house when I'm not there. You understand what I mean? So when I'm desiring a home-cooked meal, I don't have to wish for a husband. I just have to afford somebody to actually cook that meal for me. You get what I mean? So, okay, cool. Let's wrap it up. Yo, I've been saying let's wrap it up.
Ngicela niyicabangisise le ndaba ukuthi ikuphi oku-right ukubethe ugwinyitshe at your 20s, mid-20s, 30 nibashade laba. Hey, kodwa lento yokayina wema.
Hey, ma'am, you know you will swallow a rock like you are saying, or we must swallow a rock and get married in our 20s. Mina, I'm here, you know, to submit to you that I swallowed a rock and got married in my 20s, and I'm now divorced and I'm in my 30s. So I do understand that you are not advising from a point of relatability of how it's like to be married. So because of what you are desiring right now, you may be thinking that swallowing a rock and getting married in your 20s means that a guy is going to cook for you and you guys are going to be together even when you are 52. You can really get divorced before you even get to 52, before you even get to having that meal cooked for you. You get what I mean? So I think that's where we differ in terms of advising people to swallow a rock. I would not advise people to swallow a rock, but yeah, people will decide for themselves. As long as the information is out there to decide whether you want to swallow a rock or not. But yeah, I'm here to say I'm proof that swallowing a rock, you will vomit it in your 30s. You will start afresh. Yeah. Let's continue with the video.
Hey, nomuntu onezandla zakhe kodwa azobuza mina ukuthi uzodlani. Hey, ngeke guys. Yona inzima yona kodwa ke ake nicabangeni mase niyangitshela ukuthi what are you deciding? Cheers. Let me go cook. Cabangani 7:25 ebusuku. I'm going to cook. Yo, live inzima.
Like overall, I feel like your problems are not the fact that you chose not to get married, honestly speaking, or rather going back to the reasons why you chose not to get married. If we dwell in that, then we can crack it. To say, make sure that you re-evaluate your reasons why you don't want to get married. You know, you can't choose that you don't want to get married because you don't want to be somebody's helper or picking up after somebody, cooking for somebody, being responsible for somebody, because you can actually mitigate all of that by getting somebody to be that. You get what I mean? So I think the biggest lesson that people should be learning from your story is the fact that make sure that the reasons behind why you don't want to get married actually hold water. Ne? And also another thing which I feel like should be a lesson is that as you are getting older, you should be able to re-evaluate those reasons and see if they still make sense. Because I do believe that the things that I've been saying, or my point of view, it's not a new thing to you. You know people have helpers all the time. You know people adopt people all the time. You know people, you know these things. You understand what I mean? But you still chose what you chose. So I think the most important thing would be you re-evaluating and saying, okay, the reason why I never wanted to get married was because I didn't want to be picking up after somebody, but I've got a boyfriend or a partner and I've made it clear to them that this is my issue and we've tried to come together and see how we can resolve this issue. You get what I mean? Then we get married. We don't have to be swallowing rocks. We don't have to be picking every Tom, Dick and Harry and get married to them because we want to be lonely. Because we can still eliminate that loneliness by having other people around. If you don't want to have kids out of wedlock, good. It's good. But you can adopt. You can have family members around, you know? So, but I feel like in conclusion, ma'am, it's got absolutely nothing to do with the fact that you chose not to get married. It's got everything to do with the fact that you chose to be alone. You know, you just choose that you want to be by yourself because you don't want to be responsible for anyone. So yeah, but that's just my 2 cents anyway. I could never be 100% right. You guys, please just leave a comment down below and tell me what your views or your thoughts are about this message or advice that we're getting from our 52-year-old ma'am here. And a big shout out to her for just sharing her point of view, because it's not everybody. Because I can imagine that back in the day, it must have been very difficult for her to walk around with in a place where, in a society where women are shamed for choosing not to be childless. I can imagine how it was like back then, you know, where you chose not to get married, where you chose not to have a child. So you must have overcome a lot. You must be a very strong woman. But for you to be here now, it's never too late for you to reevaluate. It's never too late for you to adopt someone. It's never too late for you to have people around you, because we deserve companionship. We deserve that intimacy. We deserve to have people around. Love is a beautiful thing. And it's not only a husband who can fill the void of loneliness, you know, unless if maybe we're talking about, you know, frying chips and all that stuff. Yeah, well, you need to get a husband for that. You know, but it's other people are doing it without having husbands. I'm not giving you ideas. I'm just saying that other people are still frying chips without having husbands. But if you have to have a husband, which is a good thing, which is a biblical thing to do, you should do that. But now I feel like all your problems can be solved. And then those who still wanna not have children for whatever reason, they can continue to not want to have children. You know. But anyway, with that being said, thank you so much. See you on the flip side. Please send me these videos.